Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Harry, and welcome to my Survive and Thrive series to kind of help get us through this time in perhaps a more balanced way. And today, I wanted to do for you my pumpkin bread recipe. Could you believe that actually baking has become a form of relaxation for me? It turns out I actually like to stir and beat up on things, and I love, love, love the aroma of things baking, and I find that that is a little soothing for me. And that's one of the ways I manage my anxiety. So today, what I wanted to do for you is the pumpkin bread that I posted prior, and thank you so much for many of you who liked it, and you were asking me for the recipe, and here it is. Okay, so what I want to talk a little bit about ingredients first. So I have here oat flour, and that so this is 2.5 cups of oat flour. I have about 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts, pumpkin seeds here, of course, baking powder, and my spices, which are nutmeg and cinnamon, and love, love, love vanilla. And then for a little sweet, dates, right? And then we've got eggs here. It's about 3 eggs. And then I have a blend of olive oil and coconut oil, and of course, the pumpkin. Okay? So ultimately, let's talk a little bit about, clearly this is a little bit of a treat, but it still has things in it that are good for you. How about that? So we know that oat is one of those good fibers, right? It's got beta-glucan, and that has been shown to help with our cholesterol levels. And pumpkins, again, they have that, do you notice that orange color that they have? That's beta-carotene. That's a great immune booster and also good for the skin. And then we're getting our omega-3s through the walnuts, and we are getting zinc for the pumpkin seeds. And zinc has been shown to be one of those immune supporters, right? And then to help manage her blood sugar a little bit with a little bit of the sweet stuff that's going in here, we have the cinnamon and nutmeg for flavor, of course. And eggs actually do have significant nutrition in them as well. Good for the brain, right? And dates keep our bowels moving pretty well. And so let's start. What I like to do here, I'll tell you what I like to do. I like to mix the dry ingredients first. And then what I do at this point is then I will mix the pumpkin along with the wetter ingredients, and then I'll put them together. And sometimes, my little secret is I add a little bit of agave syrup to it. How about that? So let's get started. The first thing I do is I add the baking powder, and this is about 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Okay, we add that. And then I add my pumpkin seeds. This is about 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds. I kind of put them in a blender and pulse them a little bit so it really blends, and it really gives the bread a hearty flavor that I like. So we add that into it. And then I add the walnuts. These are chopped walnuts, about 1/2 cup again. And what I want to do is I just want to stir those things up and blend it up. And already it is looking amazing. Okay, we see the little chunks in there that we like. And here now, what we want to do is we want to spice it up. Okay, so I add about, for me, I really love the taste of cinnamon. I'm adding here about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. You can add more or less depending on what you prefer. I probably will end up adding a little bit more. I'm going to be honest with you. I may end up adding a little bit more depending on what it is at the time. So at this point, with the nutmeg you put a little bit less of that. That's usually about 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon. You would add to the nutmeg. And so what I tend to do is that I just kind of flavor it with the nutmeg like that. And I just really enjoy the taste of nutmeg as well. It gives it that really spicy flavor. It's almost like fall, right? But not quite. It's just a little treat, honestly, to help get you through this moment. And you're doing, so it's not just all sugar, right, that you're seeing in there. In fact, the only sugar that I add sometimes is a little bit of agave syrup, like I said, and I'll probably add a little bit of that. Some people want to put maybe a little pinch of salt in it. That's okay as well. So we blend those up, and then what I will do is set that aside. And I'll tell you how I decide if I need more cinnamon or not, because remember, we talked about this. I am not a professional chef. So when I get into the kitchen, I do things according to my taste, okay? And that's basically how I do it. If it tastes the way I want it to, then I know I am good. Okay, so we have that blended up. So now what I want to do here is blend up the pumpkin. This is about a can, BPA-free can of a pumpkin that I usually don't get the one in a heavy syrup, but that's entirely up to you. But if you do, just really drain that really, really, really well. And I add the 3 eggs into that, and I start stirring that up. Okay, so what this does is makes it easier to then blend in with the dry ingredients, right? So you blend that up. There we go. Sometimes I even cheat and add a little bit more cinnamon into this one. We blend that up. And then I add the oils into this one as well. Okay. And that is blending up really, really nicely. And I say the dates for this one, I'll tell you why, because dates are usually, they're a little moist, right? And so they will blend well with the dry ingredients unless they're blended in here first. As you can see, they're even a little sticky because dates are a little moist. And dates gives it the little sweet, and you chop those dates as finely as you would like to. Okay. So now you have got the mixture that you want to, oh, we forgot the vanilla. Okay, so we add a little bit of vanilla. Vanilla is one of my favorite things. And it's usually like about a teaspoon of vanilla that you will blend into there to really kind of flavor that well. Okay, that looks amazing. And then I want to combine them together. And mix them together. Okay. So, wow, you should smell this, everybody. So I'm just blending it together before we get to that part where we need it, you know? So, okay. So at this point, we want to do now, keep blending. Until it gets to that bread-like consistency. So, okay, so what I then do is then really kind of take my hands and really work everything in. And for those of you who do bread, again, not a baker, but I love this bread. And so I stole this recipe from my mom. Okay? So, and since I told you I'm not a baker, I don't have a traditional you know, the square baking pan that people have. I don't have that traditional baking pan. So what I'm going to do is put it in a round pan and then put it to bake, okay? And then we will have, you see that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yellow color. So this is my cheek pan. And I'm going to then just in here and kind of spread it out into that pan. And that, I can assure you, is going to be so delicious. We're going to use all of it. And then we put it in the oven. What I've done is I've preheated the oven to 350, and it is primarily baked until it is done. And it's really, when it's done, then we'll take a look at it and I'll taste it for you. And when you do yours, please feel free to let me know on Facebook or Instagram how it turns out for you, because I'll be really, really interested in knowing that. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and then once we put this in the oven, we'll put it in the oven and bake it, and then come back and let you know how it tastes. Okay, let's wait about 35 minutes. And here we are. I put it in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes, kept checking on it, making sure it was brown, and then ultimately, super hot, this is what we have. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? Now, I'm just going to let it cool for a little bit before I dig in.